Juventus boss Thiago Motta is looking to offer Joshua Zirkzee an exit out of his current misery with Man United after it has now come in reports claiming seriously that Juventus are looking for a January move, and this could be an interesting one to see Joshua Zirkzee reunite with his former boss at Bologna. Let's get it now. Listen, guys. First of all, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Wherever you are tuned into the United Sport, I do hope you're subscribing. But the transfer window with Man United, as you know, there's always a lot going on now. More so at a time like this when Man United is desperate for players, there are moves that are being mooted left, right, and center now. The latest coming through suggests that Thiago Motta, who is the former boss of Joshua Zirkzee at Bologna, where Man United signed him from, currently now at Juventus. Remember, Juventus wanted to sign him at some point, but reports now coming through do claim that Thiago Motta is ready to let go of Dusan Vlahovic, and his preference would be to be reunited with Joshua Zirkzee, a player he likened to the great Ronaldinho. Now, the report claims that this could be in a swap deal where Juventus would let go of Dusan Vlahovic, joins Man United, United gives them Zirkzee, and there could be an agreement on perhaps a little extra fee that maybe United could have to pay in case it makes sense for them. Because if you look at the valuation of the two players, Joshua Zirkzee was bought for about £36 million. Dusan Vlahovic is valued at about 65 or 70 million euros. No, so it's the valuation is a bit different in terms of Vlahovic, and especially knowing that teams like Arsenal, teams like Chelsea are looking out for strikers, and Vlahovic is one of those who have been linked with them. So Juventus know they could get some good cash from him, and he's also not willing to put pen to paper on a contract extension. He's got about 18 months left currently on his contract, and of course this is around the time the player should be going into talks for a contract renewal or extension. Now, according to what we pick now, is that Thiago Motta appreciates Joshua Zirkzee. He knows how to get the best out of him because he's the guy who was in his coach when he was banging in the goals that attracted Man United. So it is now said that they can let go of Vlahovic, who has scored 7 goals and assisted once this season. For Juventus, he has scored a total of about 53 goals in 124 games for Juventus since he joined from Fiorentina. He's a goal scorer, physical, lethal guy who is viewed as a guy who can go into the Premier League and shine. Now, for Juventus and Thiago Motta, how he wants to play his football, he's certainly not that kind of player, perhaps, that he would really want to use. It's not his profile of a striker, yet Zirkzee is just that. So there is that expectation that such a swap deal could happen and talks could be on if indeed Man United are looking to let go of Zirkzee, as recent reports have started emerging to suggest that indeed Ruben Amorim is done with the boy who has been at United for only a couple of months. Now, of course, we know that with Zirkzee, it's not really easy to think that it's done and dusted for him. It's early days. He's been at United for less than a season, for just months, really. It's not even a half season. He has played only a few games, scored 3 goals so far, but he certainly has got to step up his game and look like, if he's given the time, he can become the player that many expected him to be. The only issue, though, is, I think, and for me, this is why Ruben Amorim, it could be true that he's looking to let go of Zirkzee. His profile perhaps does not fit into what Ruben Amorim coaches as a guy, as a manager, because he wants his number 10s to be proper number 10s to create. He does not really need a player who is going to link the midfield to the striker, a half 9 or 9.5. He's a unique footballer who can shine, that is Zirkzee, who can shine under a system that appreciates the role of a 9.5 or a half 9 or whatever he calls himself. But you look at Amorim and his 3-4-2-1 formation, and he really needs typical number 10s to be the ones playing behind the striker. And you realize that those two number 10s have a big job to do to feed this striker to get the goals in. So for Zirkzee, it's always going to be difficult for him to fit into the Ruben Amorim system, and that's why it's believed that, and even from the statements that Amorim made, I told you in my earlier video, the statements he made after the game against Liverpool about Zirkzee, it seemed, I think, to be done with him. It looks like for them, the two of them have just failed to click it together. He doesn't really appreciate him and his understanding of the game. He was questioning him being outside the box when the team is pushing for a goal. As a striker, what are you doing outside the box? But you see, in Zirkzee's head, that's his game. He's a 9.5 that wants to be in areas where he can serve the number 9, but Amorim perhaps doesn't have space for such a player. So that's why this Dusan Vlahovic swap deal could perhaps make sense for Amorim. But for you, Juve, would they lower down their valuation, or will Man United be willing to find resources to add, to top up? Because you don't expect this to be a direct swap deal where Juve, sends Vlahovic and Man United, gives them Zirkzee, unless Juve are desperate for Zirkzee because the coach has perhaps given them the assurance that he can make him work. But it's a difficult one. But also knowing that Vlahovic would attract money from Chelsea, from the likes of Arsenal, it is again difficult for Man United to really, think they can get him without paying a penny. Remember, United are desperate for a striker as we speak currently. So that's the situation that's beginning to build. This is a developing transfer update. We'll, of course, keep monitoring it here on the United Sport to give you more. But meanwhile, still coming from Italy, AC Milan seem to be now focused and intent on getting Marcus Rashford if the deal makes sense for them. They are monitoring the situation with Rashford and Man United. Unsettled, Rashford wants to stay in Europe. Italy is an option. There is talks of swap deals with Napoli, but Milan too don't want to come into the equation, though their proposal would have to see Man United pay some money because theirs is not to get him on a permanent, theirs is to get him on loan for the rest of the season, but with Man United paying a significant portion of his wages. Does that work for United? Perhaps not. So that's a bit of a tight situation, but Milan are seriously, this is coming in from Dimasio, credible source when it comes to Italian clubs. He's saying that AC Milan are considering that option of having Rashford on loan, but only if Man United can pay a significant portion of his huge wages. So the thing with Rashford and why his deal is going back and forth is his wages. He's got a long contract up to 2028 and he's on big crazy wages. So no club can easily come out there and say we are willing to take this burden. Yet Rashford is not willing to cut down on his on his cash. So he wants his money intact, but he can only get that money if he goes to Saudi. He can even get more than that. But he's saying, I don't want to go to Saudi. I want to stay in Europe. So for Man United, they are found in a hard situation where they've got to find ways of coming to a common ground, agree on a solution together with the player, but this won't be easy. But at least there is interest from multiple clubs in Rashford. It's only finding that club that the player wants, and then they agree on a working solution to ensure that Rashford is let go of, because that is what has been decided by Ineos, Ruben Amorim, and co. My name is Webb. This is the United Sport. It's the transfer tracker. I will be back with more. For now, that's it. Cheers.